I found out about the private investigator when I saw the credit card statement. Not mine, of course. Eric's. The one he thought he'd hidden in his desk drawer under the tax returns from 3 years ago. $2,500 to something called Discrete Solutions, LLC. I Googled it right there in his home office, my hands shaking as the search results loaded. Private investigations, surveillance, infidelity cases. That's when I knew my 5-year relationship was over. Not because of what he'd find, but because of what he'd chosen to do instead of just talking to me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back to when things were good, when Eric looked at me like I was his whole world instead of someone who needed to be followed by a stranger with a camera. We met at a mutual friend's wedding in Denver back in 2018. Eric was the kind of guy every mother dreams about for her daughter. Software engineer at a tech startup, owned his own condo downtown, had his life together at 28. He was stable, reliable, the type who remembered anniversaries and brought flowers just because it was Tuesday. After years of dating musicians and bartenders who couldn't commit to dinner plans, let alone a relationship, Eric felt like winning the lottery. Our first 3 years were perfect. Maybe too perfect, looking back. He insisted on paying for everything, even when I protested. "My money is our money," he'd say, pulling out his credit card before I could reach for my purse. "Your money is yours to save or spend however you want." At first, it felt romantic. He was taking care of me. He was proving he could be a provider. The thing is, I made $42,000 a year as a marketing coordinator while Eric was pulling in $170,000 at his tech job. When we moved in together after a year of dating, he chose the luxury condo in downtown Denver. $2,400 a month in rent, way more than I could afford on my salary. "Don't worry about it," he said. "I've got it covered. Just help with groceries sometimes." Sometimes turned into never. Every time I tried to pay for groceries, he'd already ordered them online. When I offered to pay the electric bill, he'd already set up auto pay from his account. He even paid for my car insurance, saying it was easier to bundle it with his. Month by month, year by year, I became completely financially dependent on him without even realizing it was happening. I should have seen it for what it was. Control disguised as generosity. My annual girls' trip started before I even met Eric. Every July, me and my 3 best friends from college would pick a destination and spend 4 days catching up, drinking too much wine, and remembering who we were before mortgages and marriages and miscarriages. It was sacred time, non-negotiable. The first year Eric and I were together, he was fine with it. "Have fun, baby," he said, helping me pack. "You deserve a break." He even drove me to the airport. The second year there were questions. Where exactly were we staying? What were we planning to do? Did any of the other girls bring their boyfriends? When I laughed and said it was called a girls' trip for a reason, he got this look on his face. Just for a second, like I'd said something suspicious instead of obvious. By the 3rd year, the questions turned into suggestions. Maybe he could fly down for just 1 night? Maybe we could do a couples trip instead. Maybe 4 days was too long to be apart. I held firm. This was my time, my tradition, my friends. That's when things started to shift. He'd sulk for weeks before the trip. Little comments about how other girlfriends didn't need to escape their relationships. How Jessica from his office never went anywhere without her husband. How it was weird that I needed space from him when we were supposed to be building a life together. The 4th year, Phoenix 2022. Something happened that changed everything. We were at this rooftop bar on our 2nd night, the 4 of us laughing about something stupid from college, when I ran into Nathan. Nathan, who I'd dated for 2 years before Eric. Nathan, who'd moved to Phoenix for a job. Nathan, who looked good, really good, with his new tan and the confidence that comes from making partner at 32. We talked for maybe 20 minutes, just catching up. He bought our table a round of drinks, gave me a hug goodbye that lasted maybe a second too long. That was it. But Melissa, my supposed best friend since freshman year, took a photo of that hug, posted it on Instagram with a string of fire emojis and the caption, "When Worlds Collide." She thought it was funny, harmless. She didn't know Eric had notifications turned on for any post I was tagged in. My phone exploded. 23 calls in 10 minutes. Texts that went from concerned to angry to absolutely unhinged. Who is he? Why are you touching him? Is this why you go on these trips? Answer me right now. I called him back, standing in the bathroom of that beautiful hotel, trying to explain over the sound of the music that Nathan was just an ex, that it was nothing, that Melissa was drunk and being stupid with her captions. But the damage was done. The seed of doubt was planted. You never mentioned Nathan, Eric said, his voice cold. Because he doesn't matter. He's ancient history. Funny how ancient history shows up on your girls' trip. It was a coincidence, Eric. Phoenix is a big city. Nothing's a coincidence with you anymore, he said, and hung up. The rest of that trip was ruined. My friends tried to cheer me up, but I spent most of it in my room. I decided to send Eric photos of everything I was doing, just to show him he had nothing to worry about. Breakfast selfie, pool selfie, shopping selfie. Being transparent, I told myself. By the third day, I resented every photo, felt like a prisoner checking in with her warden. But I kept sending them. It was easier than fighting. When I got home, Eric had gone through everything. My laptop browser history showed he'd read 3 years of emails. My journal, the one I'd kept since college, was on the kitchen counter instead of hidden in my underwear drawer. He'd even gone through my jewelry box, found the necklace Nathan had given me years ago that I'd kept for sentimental reasons, and left it on my pillow like an accusation. He said he was just worried, that he loved me so much it made him crazy, that he couldn't bear the thought of losing me. He cried, actually cried, and somehow I ended up being the one apologizing, promising to be more considerate, promising to understand his concerns. I should have left then, but I didn't. I made excuses. He was stressed from work. He loved me too much. He just needed reassurance. The 5th year, this past July, Miami, 2023, I knew he was watching somehow. I could feel it. The way every Uber driver seemed to linger. The way I kept seeing the same faces at different locations. The way my phone acted strange, battery draining faster than usual. But I told myself I was being paranoid, that Eric's jealousy had infected me too, made me see shadows where there were none. On our last night in Miami, we went to this club in South Beach, just dancing, drinking, being 30-something women pretending we could still party like we were 22. That's when I met James. James was everything Eric wasn't. Spontaneous where Eric was calculated. Passionate where Eric was practical. He was in Miami for a medical conference, a cardiologist from Boston, and when he asked if I wanted to get some air, I said yes. We walked along the beach, our feet in the warm sand. He told me about his divorce. I told him about feeling suffocated. That's not love, James said. That's ownership. When he kissed me at sunrise, I kissed him back. Not because I wanted James, but because for one moment I wanted to choose something. Anything. We didn't sleep together. The kiss was enough. It was my declaration of independence. The investigator got photos from multiple angles. He probably made $500 in bonus for catching that moment. When I came home from Miami, Eric was different. Calm, too calm. He asked about my trip with this fake, casual tone, like he was reading from a script. Anything interesting happen? Anything you want to tell me? I knew then that he knew something, but I was so tired of the games, the jealousy, the constant surveillance disguised as love. So I said, no, nothing interesting, just the usual girls' trip stuff. That's when he pulled out the folder, 8 by 10 glossies, like something out of a movie, me and James on the beach. The kiss from 3 different angles. Photos of us talking in the hotel bar earlier that night. James's hand on my lower back as he guided me through the crowd. Pictures of me laughing, looking happier than I'd looked in years. Time stamps on everything. The private investigator had been thorough. But there was more. So much more. Photos from the previous days, too. Me in my bikini at the pool. Me dancing at the club. Me hugging our male Uber driver who'd helped me with my luggage. Every interaction with any man over 4 days, documented and cataloged like evidence in a murder trial. You had me watched the entire time? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I had to know, Eric said. I had to be sure. How much did this cost? $2,500, best money I ever spent. $2,500. That was 3 months of my car payments. That was the vacation to Costa Rica I'd wanted to take but couldn't afford. That was money that could have gone to couples therapy if he actually wanted to fix things, instead of just catch me at something. How could you? Eric asked quietly. No shouting, no drama, just that devastating calm. After everything I've done for you? After everything I've given you? And that's when something inside me snapped. Everything you've done for me? I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. You mean controlling me? Monitoring me? Making me feel guilty for having friends? For having a life outside of you? I loved you, he said, still in that same measured tone. You owned me, I shot back. There's a difference. He nodded slowly, like he was filing that away. I hired a private investigator, $2,500, best money I ever spent. No pride in his voice, just facts. I needed to know the truth. Your instincts told you to have me followed instead of just talking to me? Would talking have changed anything? He asked. I wanted to say yes, but we both knew I was lying to myself as much as him. The thing is, before Miami, I'd never cheated. Never even considered it. That moment with Nathan in Phoenix had been nothing, just 2 exes being friendly. But Eric's jealousy, his paranoia, his need to control everything, it had pushed me to a breaking point. He'd created the very thing he'd feared most. When he asked me to leave his condo that night, his voice never rose above conversational. I need you to pack your things. I'll stay at a hotel for 3 days to give you space. Please be gone when I return. You mean the condo I've been living in for 3 years? I tried to match his calm, but couldn't. The condo where I've bought the groceries, done all the cleaning, all the cooking, the one I made a home? It's in my name, he said simply. And I'm the one who made it a home, I replied. He picked up his overnight bag, already packed. He'd planned this whole conversation. 3 days, he repeated, and left. The next morning I called my lawyer cousin Rachel. Told her everything. The financial control, the emotional manipulation, the surveillance. The fact that for 5 years Eric had insisted on paying for everything, creating a dynamic where I was completely dependent on him. Colorado doesn't have palimony, not officially, she said. But we can file a civil suit based on unjust enrichment. He built his life on your unpaid labor and actively prevented you from building your own financial security. We have a case. I hadn't even considered it until she brought it up. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Eric had insisted on being the provider, had made it impossible for me to contribute equally, had created a situation where leaving meant starting from zero while he kept everything. When I told him I was considering pursuing palimony, he lost it completely. You cheated on me, he screamed over the phone, and now you want my money? You had me followed, I replied calmly. You violated my privacy, my trust, everything. And for 5 years you insisted on controlling our finances. This is the consequence of that control. His family turned on me immediately. His mother, Linda, who'd always acted like I was the daughter she'd never had, sent me a text calling me a gold digger and worse. I knew you were trash from the moment Eric brought you home, she wrote, but I kept my mouth shut because he seemed happy. Now look what you've done to my baby boy. His brother posted on Facebook about women who take advantage of good men, complete with a photo of Eric from last Christmas, captioning it, "When nice guys get destroyed by users." It got 247 likes and dozens of comments from people I'd thought were my friends, all taking his side, all calling me names without even knowing the full story. When I went for my usual latte the next week, the barista who'd known my order for 3 years suddenly asked, "What can I get for you?" Her eyes were cold. "We don't hold tabs for people anymore." Even the gym receptionist suddenly couldn't find my membership in the system. The doorman at Eric's building, where I'd lived for 3 years, acted like he'd never seen me before when I came to get the rest of my things. My family was disappointed, but not surprised. My sister Sarah had been warning me about Eric for years. "He's too intense," she'd said after meeting him the first time. "The way he watches you, it's not love, it's possession." My mom was gentler, but no less direct. "Honey, you gave that man 5 years of your life. You gave up your apartment, your independence, your friends. If he wanted to control the money, then he can deal with the consequences." The legal process has been brutal. Eric hired the best lawyer money could buy, of course. They've painted me as a cheater, a gold digger, a woman who used a good man and then betrayed him. They don't mention the surveillance, the control, the slow erosion of my autonomy. My lawyer says I have a strong case. The financial disparity, the length of the relationship, the evidence of his controlling behavior. Even the private investigator works in my favor, proof of his invasive and destructive behavior. But winning legally won't give me back the 5 years I lost, won't restore the friendships that withered while I was too busy managing Eric's jealousy to maintain them, won't erase the shame I feel for letting someone make me so small. The mediation was brutal. Eric showed up with his lawyer, his brother, and his mother, like he needed an entourage for emotional support. They sat across from me and my lawyer in that sterile conference room, and Eric wouldn't even look at me. His mother kept shaking her head and muttering under her breath, loud enough for everyone to hear. 5 years he took care of her. 5 years. My lawyer presented our case methodically. The financial control, the isolation from friends, the surveillance. The fact that I'd given up my own apartment to move into his place had stopped contributing to my 401k, because Eric said he'd take care of our retirement, had turned down a job opportunity in Portland because Eric didn't want to leave Denver. "She made choices," Eric's lawyer countered. "Adult choices. No one forced her to accept Mr. Patterson's generosity. No one forced her to move in with him. And certainly no one forced her to kiss another man while in a committed relationship." That word, generosity. Like financial control was a gift I should be grateful for. The mediator, a woman in her 60s who looked like she'd seen it all, finally spoke up. "Mr. Patterson, did you hire a private investigator to follow Ms. Williams?" "I had concerns," Eric said, finally looking up. "I was right to have them." "That's not what I asked. Did you hire a private investigator?" "Yes." "For how much?" $2,500. "And did Ms. Williams know about this surveillance?" "No." The mediator made a note. "Ms. Williams, in the 5 years you were together, did you contribute financially to the household?" "I tried to. Eric wouldn't let me. He said my money was mine to save." "And did you save it?" "Some, but mostly I spent it on things for us. Furniture for the apartment, decorations, cooking classes so I could make the meals he liked, yoga classes to stay in shape for him." I paused. "I spent my money on becoming the person he wanted me to be." The truth of that statement hit me as I said it. Every purchase, every decision had been about making Eric happy, keeping Eric satisfied, preventing Eric's jealousy. I see Eric sometimes, around Denver. Last week at Whole Foods, he was with someone new already. A younger woman, maybe 25, blonde, tiny, looking at him the way I used to, like he was stable and secure and safe. She was wearing a designer purse I recognized, the kind that costs $2,000. The kind Eric must have bought her, already starting the pattern. I wanted to warn her, but I didn't. As they passed my aisle, I heard him say something about his crazy ex, who tried to destroy him. The girl made sympathetic noises, squeezed his arm tighter. There was no restraining order like he implied, But Eric was already rewriting history, and she was already believing it. She'll learn. They always do. My girls' trip friends have been my salvation through all of this. Melissa, despite her Instagram incident, has been housing me in her guest room. We finally talked about that Phoenix post last week. "I'm sorry about the Nathan photo," she said over wine. "I didn't think—" "You never do," I said, but not meanly. "That's why I love you." "Eric would have found something else to obsess over anyway," she said. "If not Nathan, then the waiter who smiled too long or the Uber driver who helped with your luggage." She was right. Eric always would have found something. "We all should have seen it," Jennifer adds when we're all together, drinking wine and dissecting where things went wrong. But that's the thing about control. It happens so slowly, so subtly, that you don't notice until you're drowning in it. The Miami trip, the one that ended everything, it saved me, in a way. That kiss with James, which meant nothing in itself, it was my rebellion. My declaration that I was still a person with desires and choices and the ability to make mistakes. Eric had me followed because he didn't trust me. But the truth is, I'd stopped trusting myself years ago. Stopped trusting my instincts that said something was wrong. Stopped trusting my friends who tried to warn me. Stopped trusting my own need for freedom and autonomy and space to breathe. The unjust enrichment case is still pending. My lawyer thinks we'll settle out of court for around $60,000. Eric won't want the publicity, the public examination of his behavior. He'll pay to make me go away, to keep his reputation as the good guy intact. $60,000. It sounds like a lot, but it's not even half of 1 year of his salary. It's not even close to what I gave up for him. The job in Portland that would have paid $70,000. The promotion I didn't pursue because it would have meant traveling, and Eric couldn't handle me being away. The friends who stopped calling because I always had to check with Eric first. The version of myself who was confident and independent and whole. I deserved something for those 5 years. For making his life comfortable while mine disappeared. His mother called me last week, despite the lawyer telling her not to contact me. "That money won't make you happy," she said. "It's blood money. You're destroying a good man for 30 pieces of silver." "Your son destroyed me first," I told her. "He just did it slowly so nobody noticed." She hung up on me, but I'm not going away. I'm rebuilding. Slowly, carefully, learning to trust myself again. I got my own apartment last month. A small 1-bedroom in Capitol Hill, with windows that face east and catch the morning sun. The first night there, I sat on the floor with a box of pizza and a bottle of wine, and I cried. Not from sadness, but from relief. No one was monitoring my credit card. No one was asking where I'd been. No one was going through my phone while I slept. I'm 33 now, starting over. My friends say I'm brave, but I don't feel brave. I feel stupid for staying so long. Angry for letting him make me small. Ashamed that it took a private investigator and a folder full of photos for me to finally break free. But I also feel free. For the first time in 5 years, genuinely free. I'm planning next year's girls' trip already. We're thinking Nashville or Austin, somewhere with good music and better margaritas. And this time, I won't be looking over my shoulder, won't be worried about who's watching or what they'll report back. This time I'll just be me. Messy, imperfect, making questionable decisions after too many drinks, but mine, all mine. Eric texted me last week. Just once. "I hope you're happy," he wrote. "I hope it was worth it." I didn't reply, but if I had, I would have said yes. Losing him was worth finding myself again. The private investigator photos, the legal battles, the judgment from his family and friends, all of it was worth it to be free from a love that felt like surveillance, from a relationship that felt like a prison sentence. I know how this story makes me look. Like the villain, the cheater, the gold digger going after his money. But I also know the truth. That sometimes the person who looks like the victim is actually the one holding all the power. And sometimes the person who breaks the rules is just trying to break free. The girls' trip didn't cost me everything. It gave me back everything I'd lost, including myself. Eric sent me one final text after the settlement negotiations began. "I gave you the best years of my life." I didn't reply, but if I had, I would have said, "No, you took mine. The difference is I can still get them back."